Greetings and welcome to The Second Sign. This is part 2 tonight of our Stanley Plotkins 9-hour deposition. I will start by saying hello to someone in the live chat. It's Rosie is with us this evening, so thanks for being here. Anyone else tuned in, either here on YouTube or over on Rumble, and you want to say hello, that would be great to know you're watching this evening. Yeah, if you weren't with us last Sunday, we started watching what is a 9-hour video of Stanley Plotkins being questioned by Aaron Siri, and I got the lady's name as well somewhere. I'm going to find the names before we start, because it's yeah, at the very least, you've got to give them credit where they're due, because I believe that the defense, are they the defense or are they the plaintiffs? No, sorry, these are the plaintiffs. It looks like in this situation, in the video we're watching, the mother had to take the father to court to stop their child being treated with a huge amount of treatment. You know, they came up with a whole load of injections. Yeah, the names of the people in tonight's video is obviously Stanley Plotkins, the guy who is the star of the show, being questioned. Aaron Siri, co-counsel for the plaintiff, who does most of the questioning, and then Amy Ruby, also, on the plaintiff's side. Laura Newer, who you don't hear much from, is counsel for the defendant. By all accounts, according to the beginning of this video, it looks like let's go over to, yeah, it looks like it was covered by a news outlet over in the United States, but it wasn't one I had heard of until this video was sent to me, recommended to me by another guy who some of you may be familiar with the name. He used to put out stuff over on, used to upload stuff to YouTube and other platforms. UK Critical Thinker. Yeah, that live chat's very small. Sorry to say. Hope you can see it all right. Rosie's glad to be with us. Rosie, I'm glad to have you. We've got Rumble chat as well, but I'm not expecting, that hasn't, obviously this is probably only about the third live stream I've done on Rumble now, so I haven't got too many people dropping in. In fact, the only person I've ever had was our wonderful Rosie, who's with us this evening. Yeah, you can make my night by just saying hello in the live chat. That's all it takes. Right, yeah, we're going to catch up on last week. Obviously, we watched an hour and 5 minutes last time. So we're going to catch up on the last sort of previous 10 minutes, where we're at the point now where Stanley is having to admit that he received... Hang on, yeah. He's talking about... Yeah, let's recap in the first bit. We learnt about Stanley. He's he's an incredible traveller. Yada Yahuwah, lovely to see you. I'm guessing you are Rosie, aren't you? But even so, whether you are or not, thank you for joining us on Rumble. Yeah, we got to the point where Stanley was... He brought up, or it got brought up, Voices for Vaccines, a website that Stanley tells us was suggested by him to counter according to him, the amount of people on the amount of websites that were anti-vaccination. Do you know what? Having strict live streamed for so long, for a while the word vaccine and vaccination was almost like bad language on YouTube. If you wanted to get your stream, hush, I don't know, one thing or another would happen if ever you mentioned that word. So I went on to call it treatment. So if you hear me say the word treatment, you know what I'm on about. Yeah, Stanley suggested and set up a task force, or a website, Voices for Vaccines. He told Aaron, the co-counsel for the defendant, that they were totally not funded by any pharmaceutical companies. They were completely unbiased, and weren't being paid in any way. Turns out that Voices for Vaccines, the website, as we're just about to hear from Stanley in this 10-minute catch-up from last week, while I go and grab myself an Earl Grey tea, is not only do they receive funding, they also use their services. So this is the catch-up, and then once we hit the 1 hour, 5 minutes and 20 seconds, I'll stop in and let you know. Let me put up a little note just so people know what's going on. We're having a yeah, thanks for clarifying, Yada Yahuwah. I do love the name though. Right. Let me just put some text on the screen letting people know we're catching. Hang on, what should I put? 10-minute catch up from last week. Okay, this text is huge at the minute. I'm sure we can make it a bit more manageable. Okay, and whilst you're watching this, actually it's just under 10 minutes. Whilst you're watching this, I'm going to grab myself a drink. It's also an opportunity for anyone tuning in. Yeah, we are going to be streaming for a while tonight. We're going to watch at least an hour of this. So we will probably have a quick break and intermission. If we do, then yeah, we could be going on for a while. So this might be your last chance if you want to settle in to, use the facilities, as I say. Go to the toilet, aka, or let me change the font. I like this font at the moment, and we'll give it a bit of colour so you can see it, of course. Pink outline, I do like pink. Magenta, probably fave colour. Right. I will resize that. Okay, yeah, appreciate your patience. 10 minutes and we'll be, or less than that actually, 7 or 8 minutes and we'll be starting. If we do overrun, I'll just, yeah. Alright, appreciate your patience. Be with you in a minute. Over and out.
Voices for Vaccines has expanded its educational outreach through new media and parenting networks, increasing its membership and its on-the-ground reach. So?
If you go up to number 4, Dr. Plotkin, can you read what the items in that list are supposed to be describing?
Expenses, including grants, revenues. So?
I'll read it to you. Number 4, number 4 says, describe the organization's program service accomplishments for each of its 3 largest program services as measured by expenses.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you claiming that this document does not represent that Voices for Vaccines received funding from the Task Force for Global Health?
As far as I am aware, that the Voices for Vaccines receives no funding from the task force. The task force, under Dr. Alan Hinman, has agreed to do the financial, whatever is required by the government to do the financial work for Voices for Vaccines. But as far as I'm aware, it receives no funding from the task force or any other governmental or semi-governmental entity.
So the task force does provide some support for Voices for Vaccines, correct?
It does,
He
yes.
already answered. He said he doesn't know.
Your objection is noted. Thank you. The Task Force for Global Health. Does the Task Force for Global Health receive funding from any of the big four pharmaceutical companies?
I do know for a fact, but I doubt it. The task force, I know secondhand, but I believe that they receive funding from CDC, but as far as I know, not from companies.
Dr. Plotkin, I'm going to hand you what's a Marcus Plaintiff's Exhibit 3.
Yes, so.
This is a
Oh, I
fact.
see. Yes, where it says funders.
Does this
Well, I stand corrected. So the task force then does receive funding from companies. However, I don't see that has any bearing on its work for Voices for Vaccines.
okay? Did you get the email?
Where is that in the... Am I looking at the same exhibit you guys are?
You should have received Deposition Exhibit 3.
And it's a page from the Lancet?
No. Number 80. No, that's the wrong one.
Give me 1 second, sorry.
All right.
No. Hold on. Just type task force. Can you search? Start task. Open that one? No. No. Just send to the webpage. Just search to that webpage on the internet.
Move your hand from your face when you testify.
About us. No. Counsel?
Yes?
It's what it is a it's a fact sheet printed out from the Task Force for Global Health, and on the left side it just shows the donors. Dr. Plotkins already, he's already. I'm just going to ask him to read the donors, and that's it. Can I assume?
All right.
Okay. So does this show that the Task Force for Global Health received funding from GSK?
Yes, it does, but I want to repeat that the Voices for Vaccines has studiously avoided receiving funding from any company, and the fact that the task force is doing its finances was only a matter of convenience and an offer from Dr. Hinman that they would do that, and because they have experience with filing tax returns, etc. And I do not believe, and I strongly do not believe, that any of the funding to the task force passes to Voices for Vaccines.
Does the Task Force for Global Health receive funding from Merck
Yes,
and from Pfizer?
apparently, yes.
Okay. So the Task Force for Global Health receives funding from pharmaceutical companies and, at the least, I'm understanding from you, provides some kind of administrative support services to the Voices for Vaccines, correct?
Correct.
And one of the founding voices to create that organization was yourself, correct?
I was one of those who suggested it, yes.
And you receive remuneration from pharmaceutical companies, correct?
I do, yes.
Okay. Does anybody out that works for Voices for Vaccines strike that? Okay. That's the three. Okay, so going back to what we were discussing, I had asked you earlier, has any educational or not-for-profit institution in which you have been involved received funding from Sanofi? And you indicated that would be difficult to answer. Can you tell me, but you did indicate to me, and correct me if I say anything that I don't want to misspeak, but you indicated there are some groups that don't receive any funding from pharmaceutical companies, correct? And you mentioned Voices
Correct.
for Vaccines as the main
Yes.
one. Okay. Is there any other education or nonprofit institution in which you've been affiliated that you're aware of that does not and has not received funding from any vaccine company?
Well, I certainly advise the Gates Foundation. I advise the National Institutes of Health. I think those are the major institutions that are not in the business of developing vaccines, and they do not receive funding from companies.
Does the NIH hold any patents on any vaccine-related technology?
I believe they do. Yes.
Do they receive royalties from those patents?
I imagine they do. Yes.
To your knowledge, you're not aware of whether any of the other
Okay, greetings. Apologies, we actually overrun there by just over 2 minutes. So, yeah, we were just getting into the juicy bits where, despite Stanley claiming that the task force was neutral, they clearly showed they're funded. Stanley set it up. He received numerations from pharmaceutical companies. So this guy isn't as neutral as you might think. But surely he cares about people, doesn't he? He's a decent guy. He only wants what's best for the public, what's best for the child being discussed in this case. So who cares that he's getting paid? In fact, is it in this section? It might be. We find out just how much he is getting remunerated, or how much he has over the years. Okay, so let's carry on watching. Hang on, I just have to mess with a couple of audio settings. And we'll be back with... Okay, we'll carry on playing.
educational not-for-profit institutions outside of Voices for Vaccines, as you've said, Gates Foundation or NIH, that
I assume it's
don't
playing.
receive,
But
just based on your knowledge. I mean, either you know, if you don't know, then
I'm sure there are organizations that are not funded by industry, but whether I'm trying to think of ones that I've advised over the years. Well, the Sabin Foundation, I'm not sure whether they receive funding from industry or not, but I don't normally inquire of the organizations that I advise where their funding comes from.
Do you believe that Stanley has no interest or doesn't ask about funding whatsoever? He's just an advisor. That's what he claims. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out that that isn't quite to be the case. We'll just have to wait and find out. We've already had one situation where Stanley's had to admit that what he said wasn't correct. He's had to backtrack, let's say. Okay, we'll keep playing.
Have you ever worked on developing a vaccine that was eventually used by the public?
Yes.
Okay. Which ones?
Let's see. Well, rubella, rotavirus, rabies, and I've made contributions here and there to anthrax, cytomegalovirus, varicella.
By the way, so many vaccines that Stanley can't even remember all the ones that he's worked on, which have gone on to be used by the public.
That's all I can remember at the moment.
Okay. The varicella vaccine, you're talking about the Varivax?
Yeah.
Okay. When you say you contributed to it, how did you contribute to the development of varicella?
Essentially by showing how it could be used and demonstrating that it was safe and effective.
Safe and effective, was that a buzzword like a year or two ago? Safe and effective? I'm sure I've heard that somewhere else.
Did you work directly with Merck on that?
I don't recall whether it was directly with Merck or not. Certainly it was the vaccine produced by Merck, but I don't recall that they actually funded my studies of varicella vaccine, but they were the producers of the vaccine, certainly.
Where were you working when you did this work?
At Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Did Children's Hospital ever acquire any intellectual property rights on what was
From
developed?
varicella, no.
No.
The reason he asked that, actually, he said whilst working for a children's hospital, he spent a lot of his time developing what would go on to be a vaccine used by Merck. I'm not sure if that's an abbreviation or if that's the full name, and he was then asked, so did the hospital whom you were working for ever receive any, did they have receive any revenue from this product that you released whilst working with us? No, it all went to, any revenue would have gone to Stanley, I'm guessing. Rosie's suggesting safe and effective could have some numerical value in gematria. Yeah, as far as I go into that is Chaldean and Pythagorean. We could have a look before we finish up.
Have you developed or been part in any way in the development of any vaccine from which you have received any payment, revenue, or income related to the sale of that vaccine?
Yes, although I should stipulate that all of the patents on vaccines that I've developed have been taken out by the institutions for which I was working, and that they gave me, I stress that it was not a requirement, but they gave me part of the profits deriving from the patents.
part of the profits. Yeah, despite saying that the Children's Hospital never had any claims to the the revenue, that he then goes on to say all the institutions for whom he worked retained the patents and gave him a share of the profits, meaning ongoing payments. Yeah, I would say if you worked at his level, is his job to discover magical new cures, or is it to negotiate patent protections? Who knows?
Okay, which are those?
Sorry?
Which vaccines are those?
Mainly rubella, rotavirus, and rabies.
The 3 R's kept the money rolling in for Stanley. That was rabies, rubella, and I can't even remember the other one. By the way, rubella, aka otherwise known as German measles, they stressed earlier on I believe it was earlier on in the stream, he stressed how damaging that can be to pregnant women. I have no idea on that. I don't know any pregnant women that ever caught rubella whilst pregnant. But apparently the risk is so great that every person in the world, as far as he's concerned, should receive a shot treatment against catching rubella. And my experience of it, I remember being at school and a teacher sending me home, even though I felt absolutely great, because I had a few red dots on my arms. Apparently my arm had a slight rash on it, and she said, "That's German measles, you've got to go home, stay home until that clears up." And I loved it as a kid, but I expect that went down as a case. They diagnosed me with German measles by a teacher based on a couple of red dots on my arm, from what I remember.
And the rubella vaccine that you developed is currently used as part of the MMR vaccine?
Correct.
Okay. And this is one of the vaccines you believe Faith's pediatrician should purchase and administer to her?
Absolutely.
Okay. What is the total amount of payments in any form you have directly or indirectly received from the sale of the rubella vaccine?
Oh. I cannot give you a figure. I would say that I do not doubt, but again, I'd have to ask my wife. I do not doubt that they were substantial amounts of money, and similarly for rotavirus and rabies.
Okay. Was it?
That's such a cop-out, by the way. Oh, you'd have to ask my wife. I've got no idea how much money I earned for this. Okay, we'll carry on.
In the millions of dollars? For rubella, just rubella.
I don't think so. Well, that's all I can say. I don't think so.
Okay. Are you in the possession of documents that would illuminate how much you've received in payments from the sale of the rubella vaccine?
Probably. I hope they have been retained. I don't know, but I imagine.
Okay. And do you continue to receive any payments from the sale or royalties or any other remuneration from the sale of the rubella vaccine?
Currently, I don't think so.
Okay. When did it cease?
Oh, Jesus.
It probably hasn't ceased. That's why Stanley reacted in such a way to be asked. His reaction to each more or less every question he gets asked is a sneer and a shrug, like, what a ridiculous question to ask me. He doesn't seem particularly comfortable with them, but that's, yeah, maybe understandable.
I couldn't tell you exactly. Sometime during this century, I don't know. You know, if I had thought that this was going to be about my finances, I would have had my wife come along, because I don't follow these things, and certainly what I've done has not been based on what remuneration I could receive from the work that I've done. So if you want financial details, I will have to collect them in some other form. But
How do you think your wife would feel of you offering her up for a deposition?
I don't think she would like it very much.
Right. It wasn't a serious question. Okay. So, but I'll request those documents. Now, do you have? You said that you're not sure whether it was in the millions of dollars that you've received from the sale of Rubello, correct?
Correct.
But it could have been?
I doubt it, but it could have been. I don't think so.
Who provided you those payments?
The Wistar Institute.
Okay. Did it come from any other source other than Wistar?
I don't think so, because the Wistar holds the patent.
Okay. Were you listed as one of the patent?
One of the inventors?
One of the inventors.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. But but Windstar was the assignee. Is that right?
Yes.
And so they received they're the ones who gave the license to Merck.
Yes, yes.
So Merck would pay Wistar, and then Wistar would remit some of that to you. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm trying to recall whether Children's Hospital was involved. I don't think so.
Okay, now he's already told us that the Children's Hospital he worked for, whilst working on this vaccine, didn't own any of the patent. However, they gave us a little bit of an insight there into the business side of vaccines, that when a group of inventors, say an inventor like Stanley, makes something such as the rubella vaccine, they're then paid a share of, did he say Witstar or White Star? I guess that is I don't know, they're the ones who own, they then give this patent to a company like Witstar, whoever they are, equity holders or some such. And from there, they then license it out to manufacturers such as Merck, is the name they're specifically saying. And from the money that Merck give the patent owner, a share is paid to Stanley, and he's now just trying to work out whether the hospital he worked for at the time receives any of that. But he's already told us they didn't.
At that point, because that was many years ago.
Okay. And you indicated that you've also developed the rotavirus vaccine earlier. I believe you said it was Rototech?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you said earlier that's currently one of 2 rotavirus vaccines currently on the market in the U.S.? Okay. And you obtained a patent for Rototech?
Wistar and Children's Hospital developed patents.
Okay. Who was listed as the inventor? Or co-inventors?
Myself, Paul Offit, and Fred Clark.
Okay. And who were the assignees of the patent for Rototech?
The assignees, you mean who used the...
Well, when you file the patent, there's usually an inventor listed, and then there's who the patent's assigned to.
Well, the patents were taken out by Wistar and Children's Hospital, if that's what you mean.
Okay. And so they were the ones who had the rights to the patent?
Yes.
Okay. How much remuneration to date have you received from sales of Rototech?
I couldn't tell you exactly, but it's been a considerable amount.
Okay. Has it been in the millions?
I hesitate to say exactly. It could be, but I really do not know.
Stanley, of course, is completely ignorant of what money is being paid to him. His wife deals with all that. As he told us earlier, he doesn't do this for the money, but I'm sure he doesn't miss an opportunity to take it.
You were entitled, so you indicated that Children's Hospital Philadelphia, is that sometimes referred to as CHOP?
Yes.
Okay. CHOP was entitled to receive revenue from the sale of Rototech?
Yes.
Okay. And what portion from the sale of Rototech was CHOP entitled to?
Well, as I understand it, 50%.
Okay. And what percent of that 50 were you entitled to?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know how much revenue CHOP received from the sale of Rototech?
I do not.
Okay. Did it ever come a time where CHOP sold its interest in the Rototech virus?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Do you remember how much approximately it was sold for?
No.
I'm wondering if I have seen this video once before, but not for a long time. Well, for a while. I'm guessing we're going to find out how much that was sold for. And what do you think? The hundreds of thousands, millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars this is? We'll maybe find out.
Exhibit 10. I'm going to hand you what is being marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 4. This is a press release from Royalty Pharma.
I think Stanley's about to hear some very high
And the
numbers.
title of the press release is Royalty Pharma Acquires Royalty Interest in Rototech from the Children's Hospital Foundation for $182 million.
182 million pounds dollars, sorry, they paid for the patent on a vaccine. Big business. Let's see if Stanley took a cut of that.
Newsma, you should have that in just 1 second.
Okay. Looking at exhibit number 4, does that refresh your recollection of how much CHOP sold its interest in Rototech for in 2008?
Assuming it's correct, yes.
Does that sound about right?
I have no idea, but presumably it's correct.
Do you have any reason to doubt the authenticity of this press release?
No.
Do you have any reason to doubt that CHOP sold its Rototech interest in 2008 for $182 million?
I have no reason to doubt it.
Okay. Did you receive a portion of those proceeds?
I believe so, yes.
How much of that? Obviously, Stanley's going to claim he has no idea how much he received. How much do you think he received? 182 million. He's one of, did he say 4 different inventors? We will soon find out, I believe. But my guess is Stanley's going to say, I don't remember how much I received. And I'm going to also guess that it was probably quite a memorable sum, but we'll see.
And what was that amount?
I could not tell you precisely. I really can't. I don't do these things
Roughly then.
for the money, and although it's gratifying to receive monetary awards, I don't personally keep track of it. And again, if I had realized this was going to be the tone of this deposition, I would have asked my wife to come along.
You're here today opining that Faith should receive vaccines that are made by the big four pharmaceutical companies, correct?
I am, yes.
Okay. And you didn't anticipate that your financial dealings with those companies would be relevant to that issue?
I guess, no, I did not perceive that that was relevant to my opinion as to whether a child should receive vaccines. Vaccines have to be made by somebody, and of course, in this world, they're made.
Hang on. Stanley raises an interesting point now. He just said vaccines have to be made by somebody. Do they? Do they really have to be made? That obviously, like I say, any time, well, I certainly should say if I don't, any time we ever discuss anything medical, never take anything I say in any way as medical advice. I'm in no way qualified to give it. I give my opinions on some various things, but people such as Stanley are considered authoritative voices. So what you hear him say, and the questions asked by Aaron Siri, the co-defendant for the counsel, for the plaintiff, that you would hope was an authoritative voice on the matter. Apparently someone has to make them, has to make these vaccines. I'm going to say, okay, whatever.
By pharmaceutical companies who make profits on vaccines.
That's it. He's just nailed it. That's why they have to be made. Someone has to make vaccines because someone makes profit. You nailed it there, Stanley.
And the fact that they make profits on vaccines has no bearing on whether those vaccines are good for a child or not.
So you think the fact that pharmaceutical companies make money on vaccines doesn't bias how they approach the promotion of their own products?
I imagine it biases them in favor of vaccines, but so does most of the scientific world.
Are you saying most of the scientific world is biased because of financial
No, I'm
conflicts and
saying
interests?
that most of the scientific world believes that vaccines protect children against serious diseases.
We'll just pick him up there. Of course, science isn't a belief. It's cause and effect. It's not based on belief. So what science believes is totally irrelevant. The fact that vaccines are good for you, according to Stanley, is a belief, which make of that what you will. In which case, people are totally within their rights to believe otherwise. If okay.
Do you have a peer-reviewed study that actually supports what you just said?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, good. We'll make a demand for that too.
Well, you can certainly buy a copy of the vaccines textbook.
There we go. Do you hear that? Even he's still trying to make a bit of a profit. He took this book he wrote, and he said that one of his students wrote a chapter in it. And he's saying, if you want to find out, buy a copy of my book. Why don't you just tell us, Stanley? Tell us they said peer-reviewed study rather than scientific experiment, but okay.
Which
maybe that would be asking a little too much.
Contains thousands of references showing that vaccines work and are safe.
Okay. So from the $182 million sale to CHOP, that CHOP made to Royalty Pharma, do you believe that you received more or less than $1 million?
I could could have received more than $1 million. I don't have an exact figure.
You stated earlier that your co-inventor on this patent was Paul Offit.
Yes.
Okay. Were you entitled to similar remuneration as he was?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that he has stated publicly how much he's received from that sale?
I am not aware that he has.
Okay. If I told you he said that he received approximately $6 million, would that would that help you recall how much you received?
Not really, but I believe whatever Paul has said, I'm sure is correct.
Okay. So, is $6 million a lot of money, in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. If you received $6 million, you think you'd remember?
Brilliant question there by Aaron Siri. Would Stanley remember? Let's see what he says.
Actually, Counselor, no. I hesitate to say this because it sounds as if.
Yeah, it sounds utter rubbish, Stanley. That's why. Yeah, this new mansion that we've moved into, this big yacht, those 5 beautiful cars we got at the front. How do we afford that? Well, you don't remember. We got paid $6 million dollars for you flogging of when that company flogged off the rights to the vaccine that you helped make. Don't you remember? No, I was completely ignorant of that. Yeah, what rubbish. Let's see what excuse. He says, I hesitate to say that because I know I've cut him off before he gets to speak, but yeah, of course you would hesitate to say that. Who would forget such a payment?
I'm some sort of idiot, but I really do not follow what income I get. I have no doubt that it was a lot of money, but I cannot give you an exact figure. I actually do not read my own tax returns. I say that in complete honesty.
Yeah, of course you do, Stanley. I believe that, mate.
How about the Wistar Institute? I believe you stated earlier they also were held to intellectual property on Rototech, correct?
Yes.
Did there ever come a time, and you receive a portion of the proceeds that Winstar receives, correct?
Yes.
And you continue to receive payments from Winstar for the sale of Rototech?
I don't think I've received anything in the last couple of years, but I have in the past.
Okay. How much approximately have you received in the past?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you recall Wistar selling a portion of its royalty interest to Rototech?
I believe they have.
Okay. Do you remember approximately how much?
No.
By the way, don't worry.
I'm going to hand you what's in Marcus Plaintiff's Exhibit 5.
Yeah, just while it does. It's not all about finances. This is a 9-hour deposition, by the way. Yeah, I'll let it keep going. I won't keep interrupting.
It's a PR Newswire article. Can you read the title, please?
The Wistar Institute sells partial royalty interest in Merck's Rototech to the Paul Royalty Fund.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection of how much they sold their royalty interest?
No.
Okay.
Ms. Newsma, did you receive Exhibit 5?
I did. I believe it's Exhibit 5. I haven't. Yep, just got it.
Thank you.
Can you please read the first sentence of the article, Dr. Plotkin?
The Wistar Institute today announced it has sold a portion of its anticipated worldwide royalty revenues from Rototech to an affiliate of the Pool Royalty Fund for $45 million.
Does that refresh your recollection of how much they received for selling a portion of their interest in Rototech?
I know that they sold it. I don't have in my head how much they sold it for, but I presume this is correct.
Okay. The Winstar Institute is entitled to what percentage of the sales from the Rototech?
I do not know.
Okay. And you, from this $45 million sale, any recollection of all of how much you received?
No recollection. I'm sure I received some.
Do you think it was sizable?
I think it was probably sizable, yes.
More than a few $100,000?
I think so. I don't have a figure in my head.
You have documents that would indicate how much you received?
I would imagine so, yes.
Make a request for those as well. Okay. Are you familiar with the Immunization Action Coalition?
Yes.
Okay. What is your understanding of what this group does?
Okay, before Stanley tells us, the Immunization Coalition, I'm going to guess they're another group of people that try and encourage. They mentioned, now this is obviously in the United States of America, every nation probably does it differently. The CDC, who release schedules each year about what treatments everyone in the world should, everyone in the country should receive. So let's hear what this Immunization Coalition or people group are about. Take it away, Stanley.
They promote vaccination through education and emails and meetings.
Would you say it's one of the main advocacy groups for vaccines in this country?
I think it's an important one, yes.
Okay. Does it receive funding from pharmaceutical companies?
I think so. I'm not certain. I don't know exactly where their financing comes from, but I think they very well may.
Okay.
Yeah, he knew he had to be honest there. He was just asked if this this coalition that supposedly promotes vaccines through education. Bear in mind, Stanley couldn't mention a single peer-reviewed study or experiment which backed up his claim that these vaccines that he produces aren't in any way useful or beneficial. He just told Aaron, go and buy my book. That's the only way you'll find it out.
I'm going to hand you what's marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 6. It's a printout from the Immunization Action Coalition webpage showing their funding for 2017. You can kindly take a look at that in the section that says, that lists the pharma company donors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are any of the companies listed there vaccine manufacturer trying to develop vaccines?
Yeah.
Yeah, I paused it just after Stanley started saying, yeah, but what's the bet in that every single one of their funders are vaccine manufacturers? We'll see.
Yes.
Which ones?
AstraZeneca, Glaxo, Merck, Pfizer, Sanofi, Seqirus.
So all of them?
Yes.
Ms. Newsmont, can you confirm you received Exhibit 6?
Haven't gotten it yet, but I should have it in just a second. Got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you know approximately what % of Immunization Action Coalition's funding comes from those pharmaceutical companies?
No idea.
Okay. Can you name me a major medical group such as the American Academy of Pediatrics or similar that you know does not receive any funding from any pharmaceutical company?
Again, that snort and a shrug and smile on his face pretty much means no, I cannot. Of course not. They're all paid for by, they're all receive funding.
Well, inasmuch as I do not know what organizations receive what funding, I really can't answer that question.
Well, you can, Stanley. You can say no. I don't know of any organisations similar to who you listed, who you gave as an example, that does not receive funding. But rather than do that, he's now not being American. I've heard this term, but I don't know exactly what it means. He wants to plead the fifth. I believe that's where you, to the best of my knowledge, you don't want to incriminate yourself. So when he says I can't answer that, he's saying I want to plead the fifth. No, he personally doesn't know of any. He can't name anyone that any of these organisations that do not receive funding from pharmaceutical companies.
Okay. So sitting here today, you don't know of one?
I don't know what funding, for example, AAP receives from manufacturers, no.
Okay. So sitting here today, you're not aware of any medical group that does not receive any support from pharmaceutical companies, correct?
I am not aware of the funding of medical organizations and whether or not they receive funding from pharmaceutical companies.
Okay. So just to recap, I think it would be correct to say that you've received in total from the companies that develop or manufacture vaccines, payments or remuneration at least in the amount of a few $1 million, correct?
I think it's correct to say that since I left Children's Hospital in the 1990s, I have received considerable funding for my work in developing vaccines and in advising companies how to develop vaccines. And I have also given advice freely to organizations that could not pay me because I believe that vaccines are important to the health of children and adults.
Okay, so he said, rather than receive payment from, organisations, let's say, that are just starting up, he's freely given advice on how to get products that he probably receives a share of the income from, how to get these things manufactured, as it were. That's what I'm guessing. Like, a company says, well, we can't actually pay you, but we will produce, 100 million vials of your product through which you will eventually receive a share. But yeah, he's trying to make it sound as like he doesn't have huge financial interest in the production and sale of vaccines. Yeah, thanks to Rosie for clarifying what pleading the fifth means. And not... Okay, so apparently it's perfect, Rosie says, for his wife, who worries about the money for him, if you're remembering properly. Okay, I see. So rather than answering about... Yeah, I think I'm with you. Appreciate that.
So the answer is yes.
The answer is yes, but I wish to say very clearly that none of the things that I have done have been done with the objective of gaining money. It has been my fortune that I have been rewarded financially for the work that I've done, but none of the things that I've done have been done for financial gain. And I resent very much the line of questioning that suggests that what I believe and what I've done have been done for financial reasons.
Nobody's suggesting that, Dr. Plotkin. I'm just asking you.
Baloney, you are suggesting that.
Well, you're suggesting that. Dr. Plotkin, so you indicated that a lot of...
Yeah, nice one, Aaron. He is the only one who's currently suggested that he's doing it for financial gain, as it were.
The remuneration you received is from the 1990s. Have you received any funding from the big four pharma companies or their predecessors before 1990?
I would say probably not. It's very hard to remember that far back, but certainly not any substantial funding. I may have received honoraria for attending meetings in those days, but certainly nothing considerable. At that point, I was working at the University of Pennsylvania in the Children's Hospital and the Wistar Institute, and was, of course, paid by those entities.
Could you read the last answer back for me, please?
Answer, I would say probably not. You know, it's very hard to remember that far back, but certainly not any substantial funding. I may have received honorary for attending meetings in those days, but certainly nothing considerable. At that point, I was working at the University of Pennsylvania and the Children's Hospital and the Wistar Institute, and was of course paid by those entities.
Okay. Did you receive any funding from any pharmaceutical company related to the development of vaccines before 1990?
I don't recall receiving any funding for the development of rubella vaccine before it was licensed, and then funding passed through Wistar. As far as rotavirus is concerned, I did have grants, not personal money, but grants for rotavirus development from Sanofi. And I had no funding for rabies.
By the way, body language here. Notice how he covered his mouth just before he said that. I received no funding for rabies. What he probably means is, officially, I didn't receive any funding for rabies, but maybe some under the alternative arrangements were probably made. I don't know. When one covers their mouth, it's kind of a sign that they're not 100% comfortable about the words coming out of their mouth.
That's as much as I can recall.
Okay. But you indicated that you didn't get funding for the work on the rubella vaccine, right?
I don't believe I had any funding until it was eventually licensed by Merck.
And when was that?
That was about 1970, early 70s.
Okay, so what he's telling us, until the vaccines were produced, he was just paid by the children's hospital that they told us he worked for. And yeah, his job was basically to concoct vaccines up. As he said, he's not doing this for the money. He cares about people's health. He just wants everyone to be as healthy as possible. Let's see if we'll remember that. Okay, we'll make a mental note of him making us aware that it's the good of people's health. That's why he's doing it. If later on in this video, maybe not today, maybe on a future episode, whether he's, just how caring this person is, but we'll let him carry on for a minute.
So from the early 70s, you were receiving funding, you're saying, from Merck related to rubella?
No, Wistar was receiving
Wistar
funding.
From Merck.
Yes.
Got it. But before that,
The store's gotta stay shut today.
The Merck did not fund the development of rubella vaccine until it was licensed.
73, it's going to be 7.
Ms. Newsma, you should have Exhibit 7.
I'm going to hand you, Dr. Plotkin, what's marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 7.
I've got a feeling we're going to be finding out that Stanley is going to be called out as, at the very least, wrong about some of the things he might have just said. We'll see. I don't know. So far, I think Aaron has been a wonderful co-counselor and questioner.
Just got it.
Okay. Can you read the title of the article, please?
Attenuation of RA27.3 rubella virus in WI38 human diploid cells.
And who's the first listed author?
I am.
Okay. And what is the year of this publication?
1969.
All right. And if you go to the summary, you know what, Dr. Plotkin, may I?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And
Oh, yes, something else that slipped my mind. I'm guessing Stanley's about to tell us.
And does it say there that Dr. Plotkin is a recipient of an award from SmithKline? Is that a predecessor to GSK?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
And French Inc., Philadelphia, for research on rubella vaccine. Correct?
Yes. Unfortunately, that was not the vaccine that eventuated. In other words, the RA27.3 was not really the product of any GSK funding.
So, just to confirm, he did receive funding to work on a vaccine, but it never made it to market, or is it, at the very least, not the one that Aaron's specifically asking him about? So, I don't know, is that a bit weaselly, how he is, how he's justifying that, no, I wasn't lying when I said I didn't receive any funding, for that virus at least, but, okay. Not that I don't think he was ever specifically asked.
I'm highlighting on this one. I'm just going to put it on the right one. Okay. So does that refresh your recollection now of maybe what was an earlier time that you received funding from pharmaceutical companies towards development related to a vaccine?
Yes,
Okay.
I did have some funding from GSK, but they had their own candidate rubella vaccine.
Aaron's certainly done his homework, by the way.
Dr. Plotkin, I'm going to hand you what is marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 8.
Ms. Newsma, did you receive that Exhibit 8?
I'm sure I will.
It might take a second. It's Dr. Plotkin's curriculum vitae. So it's a
Oh, I've got a copy of that already.
Thank you.
This is your CV, correct, Dr. Plotkin?
Yes,
Did you update the CV recently?
I think it was updated last year, but I'm not sure exactly. It probably doesn't have every last publication.
On the
Wow, that is quite a CV. I don't know if you can see just how thick that book is that he's been handed. And he said, even that doesn't cover every single publication. I think CV's meant to be 1 page on the front, 1 page on the back, very brief. He's, yeah, Stanley's gone to town with his CV by the sound of it. Let's see if it brings out any interesting information.
first page in the top right corner, do you see the date?
June 2017.
Was that when it was last updated?
Yes.
Okay. If you go to the end, I saw that you went, there are some articles here that were published in 2017 in which you're an author.
Yes.
I think I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 articles, correct?
I guess.
Okay, some of these were published within the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of them were published in December, November, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this has been updated very recently, correct?
Well, June 2017.
The articles, if you go to Article 794, Rodriguez, Pinto.
Yeah.
Do you know what month of the year that was published?
No.
Okay. If I told you it was published after June, would that?
No, I guess my secretary must have added it.
Okay. When's the last time you reviewed this CV?
Probably in June 2017.
Okay. You provided this CV to the attorney for the defendant in this case?
Yes.
Okay. It's quite a hefty CV, Dr. Plotkin. It's over 200 pages. I see there's 794 articles in it, which you were the author, correct?
Yes.
Goodness me, Stanley looks absolutely fed up here. I'm not sure. Maybe we're going to find out something that he would probably regret.
It's a lot of articles. I see a lot of honors, including Who's Who in America since 1978.
Mm-hmm.
Got a number of faculty appointments at a number of universities I see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Any of faculty appointments missing from this list?
I don't think so.
Okay. I also see that there's there's you have a professor emeritus position at University of Pennsylvania in Wistar. Do you teach any courses there?
Yes,
Do you continue to teach any courses?
yes.
What do you teach there?
Participate in the vaccine course at the university and essentially give advice to Wistar.
And for the university, did you teach a course last semester?
Yes,
Have you been doing that every year for
pretty
the last
much, yes.
few years? What's the name of the course?
Vaccines, I don't remember the exact name, but it's essentially a course in vaccines.
How many days a week does the class meet?
Oh, 2 days a week.
I see you have a number of hospital and administrative appointments. 1, 2, 3. You have 6 of them, all right? It looks like they're all at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and then Department of Pediatrics. Any of your hospital administrative appointments missing from this list, Dr. Plotkin?
No, I don't think so. I do have an appointment at Johns Hopkins, but yeah,
And what is that?
I'm an adjunct professor.
Since when?
Gosh, I think sometime in the 2000s.
I see you have positions in industry listed, correct?
Yes,
I see 2 of them. I see one is from 1991 to 1997, the medical and scientific director at Sanofi,
yes,
right? And 1997-2009, executive advisor to the CEO of Sanofi, correct?
correct.
Okay. But as discussed earlier, since 2009, you've also worked for Sanofi, correct?
I have, yes,
And you work for Merck
yes,
and Glaxo
Yes.
and Pfizer.
yes.
How come those aren't listed here, Dr. Plotkin?
Well, they are consultancies. They're not official appointments. I don't have a let's say a title at Merck. I'm simply a consultant to them, and so it's not in my CV.
So in providing this CV to defendant's counsel, you didn't think disclosing your affiliations with the very companies whose product you're saying Faith should received, who her pediatrician purchased and provide to her, was necessary to disclose?
Okay, my apologies. I just had myself on mute. I've done it once so far, at least, that I'm aware of. Yeah, at this interesting point where Aaron brought up the question, did you not think it important to disclose that you are, you're on the payroll of the very company's product who you're here to, do you not have a conflict of interest, seems as you're being paid by the companies that you're claiming to be here for in a neutral sort of manner, as it were. Yeah, on that point, we are actually going to go to a quick intermission. Before we do, I would like to say a big thank you to Rosie, who's so far the only person who's wanted to comment in the live chat. That's fine. If anyone else wants to make my evening and say hello, it's it'd be good to see you there. We are going to take a 5-minute break while I use the facilities, get myself another drink, and yeah, hang on. The clock is at, if you see just at the bottom of the display, it's at 10:22. Probably once that gets to 10:35 or 10:40ish, we'll be finishing. That'll be our segment for this week. So we've got just over less than 20 minutes left of this to do. You might think, shouldn't we just plough through now? Yeah, I'm going to take a very, as I say, I'm going to take a very short break. I will leave you with a video though. I haven't set it up yet. Anyone who has seen previous ones of my live streams, back when I was Bobby Zines rather than Obby Lines, or the second sign, however you want to call it, I used to, the main subject I would cover were babies being faked by celebrities. Let's see, so I'm gonna line up a video. Oh, hang on. Which is one that I did a few years back about, not Ewan McGregor, Conor McGregor, asking will Conor McGregor's next baby be faked. Yeah, it's about 5 minutes, and I'll leave you watching that just to, obviously, yeah, we've been going over an hour and a half, so if you're Rosie, thanks for being with us since the beginning. If you can't make it to the end, totally understand, but let's hope you do. Right, yeah, we'll watch the video about Conor McGregor's baby being faked. I can't remember what year I did this one, but hang on, let's check it's lined up properly. No, it isn't. One fictional character. Okay, let me just realign this one. I'll put a little note that we're going to be back in a minute. Thank you for your patience. Right. Let's see. I should have it. Some text saying intermission, back in 5 mins. Right, where's that then? I hope you can read that all right. Okay, yeah, here's a video I did from... Oh, that's not the right one. Yeah, here's a video I did about Conor McGregor, and I'll leave you to enjoy that one. Okay, right, let's line that up a bit. Yeah, we've probably got about another half an hour of this stream or so once we come back from the break. Okay, thanks for tuning in if you've been with us so far. Oh, by the way, before we start watching that, I will just remind anyone who's enjoyed the show, if you want to show your appreciation, whether you're here on YouTube or Rumble, and you want to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe or share this video, it would be hugely appreciated, and I would take that as a huge compliment. Okay, back in 5 minutes. If I'm not back before this video finishes, it will be on a loop, but I certainly won't be much more than 5 minutes. Okay, see you in a sec. I'm Mickey Mouse, meeting another fabricated character, Conor McGregor. Hi everyone, now I came across this story in the Metro a few days back. Conor McGregor expecting third child with fiancée Dee Devlin. We only have to take a look at the picture they've used for this story, and you see Dee Devlin's big manly hand on Conor's thigh, and you already have to start to wonder, is this going to be a pregnancy where we see lots of deception and the usual ingredients of workout videos from a 9-month pregnant woman who doesn't seem to stop? We'll read the first lines. Conor McGregor has announced he's expecting another baby with fiancée Dee Devlin. The 32-year-old, they got the number in, confirmed the happy news with a sweet family photo on Christmas Eve. You only have to look at their Instagram accounts to see the pictures of their previous pregnancy. Here is one of Dee Devlin sporting a very square looking bump. This was for their first child back in 2017. I think it was born on May 22nd actually, once again with their numbers. She does show one bump picture from her first pregnancy. Does it look plasticky? A bit silicone-y? Fake looking belly button? You really have to start to wonder the legitimacy of the pregnancy when they show their 5-day-old child supporting his own head in a picture. Now, if you're not aware, babies generally take about 3 to 4 months before they can hold their own head up. But this supersonic baby with its twisted, weird looking neck is able to do such a thing after 5 days. If you think that's acceptable and believable, we see about 10 days into the child's life, again supporting its own head. Less than a month old, the child not only supports his own head, he's crawling up his daddy's chest, lifting his head and facing his supposed daddy. However, after this video, they do start to show them supporting the head. Almost, I wonder if someone tipped them off in the comment. A baby shouldn't be able to move its own head at this age, so we then start seeing these pictures. Goodness me, look at that. Looking at this picture of the child just about to board a plane, and take a close look and you can see this very strange line going through the child's head. If that doesn't raise some questions, I don't know what will. June, July, August, about 3 months into this child's life, and it's easily supporting its own head along with a fairly heavy set of headphones. If you think that's remotely believable that a child of 3 months old would be able to do that, then you lack critical thinking, in my opinion. There's not so many pictures of the second child on the Instagram account of Dee Devlin, but if we go over to Connor's, we do get to see some. This one here, if you take a close look, pretty apparent here, where a fake eye has been stitched on, and you can clearly see the use of Photoshop being used in this picture as the light source around Conor McGregor. You can see he's not particularly well lit up, and then come to the picture of his boy that he's holding next to him, and you can see his face is bathed in like studio lighting or something. Clearly not taken in the same location though. Again, the child's skin is all very light and white, whereas Connor's is in shadow. This picture, again, look closely at the eyes and you can see they're photoshopped onto that child. And again, I think the ears look very strange in this picture. So as we go forward with this pregnancy, I'm going to be keeping an eye on it over the next 9 months. While they could actually be taking a picture with real children, I do believe they're then doctoring the pictures afterwards by superimposing other faces on top. I'm not sure, but let me know what you think. I believe Conor McGregor is a complete fraud. A very strange looking person as well. Yeah, he has some very odd features. If you ever see him walk, it's almost like he's affecting a walk. Kind of walks like his legs are at 10 to 2 all the time. Very odd. Almost like he's walked more masculine than he really is. Who knows? Your comments and questions on this sort of thing are always appreciated. I hope you can see the clear deception being used with Conor McGregor. Let me know what you think, and as always, thank you for watching. I think this picture taken from Conor McGregor's Instagram account is very poignant, as it shows one fictional character, Mickey Mouse, meeting another fabricated character, Conor McGregor. Hi everyone, now I came across this story. Apologies, we overran by, let's see, 24 seconds. Okay, let's switch off the intermission video and get back to Stanley. I hope someone at least is still watching our stream this evening. Right, yeah, that was a bit of classic Bobby Zines from, oh goodness knows when I put that one out, probably 2019 I expect that video came from. Maybe a little later. Okay, we're going to watch probably at least another 12 to 15, 20 at the very most minutes of Stanley. As he's just been asked why he omitted information that he submitted to the judge about his involvement in the companies for which he's supposed to be, you know, that he's representing here in court. Basically, he has got a financial interest in these companies. Okay. Right, I'll be back in a second.
The CV.
Strike the question. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you willing to update your CV to disclose all of the connections you have with the big four pharmaceutical companies?
Yes, of course. The CV is
Okay.
is created for not for for legal purposes. This is created to inform people who want to know about my papers and my appointments at various universities.
You provided this to defendant's counsel, correct?
Yes,
To show your experience as relevant to being an expert witness in this case, correct?
to show my experience as in the field of vaccines. Yes,
What is Dynavax Technologies?
Dynavax is a company that is working on adjuvantation of vaccines and has recently licensed a hepatitis B vaccine that is more immunogenic than the current vaccines.
Okay. This is a for-profit company.
Yes,
Right. And it's involved in the development of vaccines, right?
yes,
You're on the board of directors of this company, correct?
correct.
Okay. That affiliation is not disclosed on the CV, correct?
It's not on the CV,
Okay.
no.
What is VBI Vaccines?
Variation Bio,
Okay, and what is that?
that's a biotech developing vaccines.
Okay. And this is a for-profit company as well, correct?
Yes,
And you are also on the board of directors of this company, right?
yes.
And that affiliation is not disclosed in your CV, correct?
It is not in my CV, no.
Okay. What is MyMedics?
MyMedics is a biotech in Europe. They've actually, I haven't done anything for them in at least a year now, but I think I'm still officially on their board.
You're chairman of their scientific advisory board, correct?
As I said, I haven't done anything for them for at least a year. So, if that is correct, that's sort of
Okay.
an old thing.
But they're a for-profit company.
Yes,
And how long were you on their board?
a couple of years. I don't remember
Okay.
exactly.
But that affiliation is not on your CV, correct?
No,
Dynavax Technologies, what have you done for them?
Dynavax. I've been on their board.
Okay. You attend the board meetings?
Not recently, but yes, in the past.
Have you advocated on their behalf?
Yes,
Have you done that in any government meetings, for
yes,
example,
yes,
to seek licensure of the vaccine?
yes. It was just licensed.
Okay. And so you were advocating as a board member of a technology company to get licensure of a new vaccine, correct?
Yes.
We have 5 minutes left on the disc.
Inovio Biomedical Corp. What's that?
That's a biotech that's developing vaccines based on DNA.
Vaccines based on DNA. This was back in 2018, by the way. Yeah, is that something else that has become, you know, is that something that's now being used, perhaps? I'm not sure. We'll carry on.
And is this a for-profit company?
Yes,
And what is your affiliation with the company?
I'm on their board.
Okay. And was that affiliation disclosed in your CV?
No,
Okay. What's CureVac AG?
it's also a biotech.
Okay. Is it a for-profit company?
Yes,
Is it involved in the development of vaccines?
yes.
What's your affiliation with that company?
I'm on their board.
Okay. Is that affiliation disclosed in your CV?
No,
Okay. What is SYN vaccine?
I'm going to guess that stands for synthetic, but we'll let Stanley fill us in.
actually, I'm not sure about that name, but as I recall, it's a company trying to develop synthetic vaccines.
What's your affiliation with that company?
Actually, I don't recall that. I've certainly helped them, but I don't recall that I have a board position. Or whether I'm officially on the board or not. I haven't had contact with them for some time.
What is GeoVax Labs?
It's also a biotech.
Okay. Is it a for-profit company?
Yes,
Is it involved in the development of vaccines?
yes.
What's your affiliation with that company?
I've been an advisor, and I think I'm officially on their board. They're trying to develop a vaccine against HIV.
By the way, I believe that's come out now, if I'm not mistaken. Is there now a vaccine against HIV? Or am I mixing up with cancer? I could be wrong. But yeah, these are all for-profit companies. None of them happen to be not, non-profit.
Was this affiliation disclosed in your CV? No, right?
No,
Okay.
I don't have my consultancies on my CV.
You're on the board of these companies, correct?
Yes,
Okay. What is Glycovaccine AG? That's GLYCO, then capital VAXYN AG.
it was a biotech in Europe.
Okay. Is it a for-profit company?
It was,
Okay. Was it involved in the development of vaccines?
yes,
Were you on the board of this company as well?
yes,
Okay. Is that disclosed in your CV?
no.
What is Adjuvance Technologies? That's ADJUVANCE Technologies.
It's a company trying to develop adjuvants for vaccines.
Okay. Is it a for-profit company?
Yes,
Okay. You're on the board of this company as well, right?
yes,
Okay. And that affiliation isn't disclosed in your CV either, right?
no.
What is Bionet Asia?
A company developing a new pertussis vaccine.
Okay, by the way, we heard a word there that I certainly wasn't familiar with. Adjuvants for vaccines are substances that enhance the immune response. They can increase the immunogenicity of weak antigens, enhance the speed and duration of immune response, stimulate and modulate humoral responses, improve induction of mucosal immunity, and enhance immune response in immature patients, particularly infants. At least that's what it says here. I'm sure if we look closely, that information probably would have been provided by one of the many organizations that Stanley has a part in, even if he doesn't disclose it on his CV.
This is a for-profit company as well?
Yes,
Okay. And you're on the board of this company as well?
yes,
That affiliation also wasn't disclosed in your CV, correct?
correct.
Okay. What's Abcombi? That's ABCOMBI Biosciences.
I haven't heard from them in a long time, and actually, I'm not even sure. I had an interview with the founder once. Whether he listed me as a board member, I don't know. I haven't heard from him in a long time.
It's a for-profit company?
I really have no idea. I assume it is, but I don't know.
Okay. And I should say that I'm spelling them out for the benefit of the court reporter. I assume you know the spelling. I'm just doing it for the benefit of the court reporter. What's Hookipia Biotech? That's
Hookipia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hookipia.
Yeah,
Biotech.
it's a European biotech.
Okay, is it a for-profit company?
Yes.
All right, and it's involved in the development of vaccines?
Yes, hopefully.
And you're also on the board of this company?
Yes.
Okay, and that affiliation also wasn't disclosed in your CV, right?
No.
Okay. Well, you mentioned one of the companies was in the process of trying to develop a new pertussis vaccine. Which company was that again?
Bionet.
Thank you. Why are they trying to develop a new pertussis vaccine?
Because the problem with current acellular vaccines is that although they are protective, the protection doesn't last as long as we would like. And Bionet has developed a component of pertussis vaccine that should give longer lasting responses.
How long does the current immunity last from the current acellular pertussis vaccine?
Well, it lasts for probably on the order of 5 years, but the efficacy diminishes after 2 years or so, and the result is that there have been more pertussis in adolescents than we would like.
So when you say after 5 years, the immunity's gone, in 2 years, the efficacy, do you mean after the, how many dose, the 4 or 5 dose DTaP series?
Well, I should go into some detail. The first
30 seconds.
By the way, Stanley's actually come out here and said the problem with current vaccines, this particular one they're talking about, is you have to play back his words to hear it exactly, but he said it wasn't good in infants or something, and yet this is probably one of the on the schedule for the stuff that the mother in this case wants the child to be treated with.
The first 3 doses are given.
You know what? I apologize.
Okay.
It's about to run out, and I don't want to give the videographer a hard time.
This ends disc 1 of the deposition of Dr. Stanley Plotkin. We're going off the record. The time is 10:32.
Okay, that is where they're bringing this to a halt. So yeah, they're taking their own break. I don't blame them. So I guess, yeah, that's probably where we're going to start drawing things to a close. I'll probably, if not before, I'll be back with the next part of this, part 3, next Sunday. I'm not sure. I've been doing midweek live streams on other subjects in the week, Thursday. So, yeah, if I'm not back before Thursday, then I'll certainly be there then. I'm guessing... Okay, so just to make a note of where we are on the video, it's 1:58:52 from the very beginning of the playback. So when we come back to it, we will kick off from there, although we'll probably have a 10-minute recap like we did on this show. Yeah, I've got to apologise for the 5 minutes or so where I couldn't get the audio sorted out. Yeah, the clock, 10:32:25 on the actual video. Yeah, it's getting on for midnight here as well, so I'll need to wrap up. Watching this video though does save me from talking constantly, so my throat isn't hurting quite as much as at the end of a 2-hour video. Let's see. Yeah, thanks to Rosie who took the time to comment in the chat this evening. It is appreciated. And yeah, so hope you've enjoyed the stream. If you're watching after the live stream, then and you've got any thoughts or comments, then please leave them in the live chat. Oh, sorry, in the comment section. Yeah, as I did request earlier, if you've enjoyed the stream, the video, even with the 7 minutes of me messing around with audio, don't worry, that won't happen again next week. I know the problem. Then yeah, please hit the thumbs up button before you leave. We'll be playing that in just a minute. Okay, I do have a sheet of names whose I like to show some appreciation for. If you're watching this on Rumble, you can find links in the description to other places you can find me and my content. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I believe you can trim out, like you can cut out segments of the video, so hopefully I'll be able to edit out the bit where I couldn't get the video to play back. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Okay. Thanks for your time. Thanks particularly to Rosie in the chat. And have a wonderful week. Thanks for your thank you for your kind words. Have a wonderful night also, Rosie. And anyone else who tuned in. Okay, time to say good night. Over and out.